It's hard to be productive as an adult, and it's even harder to raise productive children. When I think about myself and how I've come to the point where I can be so productive during my time and I can be so organized, I think back to my childhood, and it does stem back to childhood. What you were modeled at home and like what kind of behaviors you saw, what kind of goal setting, habits, routines, all of that has led to me now kind of having a good relationship with work, finding productivity really quite simple because it's what I was used to from childhood. And now that I'm a mother myself, I am really conscious of making sure that I'm modeling good behavior in terms of productivity, healthy productivity, allowing children to have responsibilities, but also space to grow and make decisions. All of that comes into raising productive children. And it isn't easy because technically it's all an experiment, but because I was raised like that, I know what the outcome would be. I have 4 siblings, so there's 5 of us in total, and we were all raised the same and the output was all the same. We're all kind of as productive as each other. So I know that this works. So here are 7 things that my parents did and 7 things that I am doing to raise productive children. The first is that I have very, very clear routines and expectations. There has always been structure to our day. So it's very clear what time bedtime is, what time you wake up, what time you kind of eat in the morning, what time you have dinner, what time you do certain things. There's structure to everything. And even just like the tasks that we do. So like, let's think about bedtime. Once you have dinner, we then might read a book or we kind of just chat about our day or whatever. Then we'll go and brush our teeth, and that leads directly onto changing pajamas. And then that leads on directly to getting into bed, reading a book before bedtime. There's really clear structure, and we have done it every single day. My son is almost 5 now. We've done it every single day since he was born, and it's led to the point that even if we don't do something in that routine, he'll tell us. He'll say, oh, we haven't brushed our teeth, or oh, we haven't done X, Y, and Z thing. Oh, you haven't read me a bedtime story. Because the routine is so structured, it has led to us kind of just doing it automatically. There's not a fight in the evening or the morning. Hey, come and do this. Hey, come and do that, because we've done it every single day and we've created that structure. And when you create structure, you're creating organization, and you're also leading for stress to be reduced. When stress is reduced, everybody feels happier. Things can just be more productive, because when your kids are doing the reading in the evening, which they're always, kind of used to, you have more time to be able to say, okay, maybe I'll do the dishes right now, or maybe I'll go ahead and get myself ready for bed as well. So you're able to be more productive because you've set the structure and expectations of behavior, which mean that they will just go ahead and do what they need to do because they know what you expect of them, and you have time to be able to just take a step, take a breather, and do what you need to do also. The second is that I've always given them responsibility, and I've tried to encourage independence as much as possible. There's so much benefit in assigning age-appropriate tasks. So one of the things that I always swear by, and I've done this since they were born, is I never do chores when they're asleep. I never do chores when they're napping. I will always do it whilst they're awake. So for context, I had 2 kids from basically COVID, in 2020, just 2 months after COVID began, lockdown began, I had my first child. So I was in lockdown essentially for the first 2 years of motherhood. So I spent a lot of time in the house with the kids. So I really had to make sure that I wasn't just cleaning and cooking all day long. I did the chores I needed to do whilst they were awake, and when they were napping, that is when I would go ahead and I was setting up my business, I was running my businesses, doing my YouTube channel. That's when that time came in. When they were awake, I would do chores. As they got older, I would give them certain things that they could do. So even when they were just standing at 9 months, 1 year old, give them a wipe and let them wipe the windows. It will be a complete mess. It's not going to be clean, but you're giving them a chore, you're giving them a responsibility, and that allows you to be more productive, and it raises them to be productive as well. And now that they're getting older, and of course they're knowing themselves more and they're becoming a lot more mature, I'm able to ask them to make decisions. So like whilst I'm doing something else, like if I have some emails to do, if they're on holiday and we're just at home for like 2 weeks, if I'm doing some work, I can say, look, do you want to play with Play-Doh, or do you want to write, or do you want to read a book? Give them a decision, allow them to make that decision, say, look, I'm going to be in a meeting, I'm going to be doing X, Y, and Z. They sit down, I sit down, we both have a great time. And it's just having that responsibility where they're like, okay, it's work time for mum and it's also work time for me, and we can both be productive. And it's just all about going back to that number one where it's managing expectations and being really consistent with it. The third is teaching goal setting from a really early age. One of the things I've always had in my mind is like goals for what I want them to achieve by what age. So for example, I said that by the time that my son was 4 years old, I want him to be able to read. So to be able to do that, but it wasn't a strict goal, of course, but to be able to do that, I said, he needs to do 10 minutes of reading every single day. And so I would manage my expectations and I would say to him, look, I didn't tell him what the goal was because that's just too much pressure. He doesn't need to read by 4, but that was a mental goal that I had. But I said to him, look, if we read 10 minutes every single day, if you write for 5 minutes every day, you're going to get better and better. And I explained that to him. And then I said, look at how you were writing, because I put the date on their work. I'm like, look at how you were writing 2 months ago and look at how you're writing today. And that really encouraged him. And to the point that 2 days ago, he took his writing book and he just wrote some sentences. Like independently, not prompted, because he wanted to. So I showed him that setting a goal and setting small manageable tasks to get there allows you to grow as a person, allows you to be more, I guess, successful in what it is that you want to learn. And because of that, he understood that if I keep on practicing, I'll get better and better. And he was so happy with himself. He wrote 2 lines and he showed it to me. And that's what I want. I want them to know that to achieve something, you set small goals. The fourth is always thinking about you. Are you modeling productive behavior and habits? Children will learn from what we do and not what we say. I can say, hey, reading's really important, read every single day. And I can kind of force them to do that for a couple of years. Then they'll get to the age where they don't want to do it and I can't force them, and that's the end of that story. If I sat down and I read every single day in silence, I just didn't say anything, and I picked up a book and I read every single day without saying anything to them, they will do the same. And I've tried it. I tried it when they were really young, like 1-2 years old. I got a book, I opened it, I sat down. Next thing you know, they grabbed some books and sat down next to me. You need to model good behavior, and that's in every sense. So even when it comes to being productive, you need to model what that looks like. How do you focus? How do you time manage? How do you balance tasks? All of these are things that they're going to pick up from you. So when it comes to like things that I live by, I always think about myself first. What am I doing? How am I modeling behavior? And then I think about what can they learn from what I am doing. The fifth is that I always try to make learning into something fun. They very rarely know that they are learning when they're learning, but they're pretty much learning most of the day. And this is my biggest productivity hack, because I don't have to sit down, get pen and paper, tell them to read and write. They're still quite young. That will come in the future. But what I'm doing now is I'm teaching them how to learn through fun ways. So maybe going to like museums and teaching them and just having a look, or even just in the house, having discussions about different things that we've seen outside, or going for like a nature walk and picking different plants and like looking at animals. Like the other day we saw a caterpillar on the ground and my daughter wanted to like step on it because it does look quite squishy. And we kind of taught her that, look, this is a living thing. It's like just like us, we're humans, it's an animal. Look at the legs, look at how the body moves. Look, we made a learning moment out of that, talked about like the legs, talked about the body, the colors, what is a caterpillar, what does a caterpillar become. Like we had a whole discussion about the caterpillar, about it being living, about it having life. And that's all science really. And they learned that through having a walk outside. So they're constantly learning. And that's really the beauty of learning at such a young age. Like under 10, they can learn through everyday interactions if you have that intention that's how kind of you want to go ahead through your days. If you do this often, you'll find that they start asking you questions, which are sometimes it's getting to the point where I'm like, I don't actually know the answer to your question. But it comes to the point that because you've taught them to be so inquisitive, you don't have to necessarily keep on pushing them towards that. They will naturally ask you about things that they see around them and things that they might have heard about or seen or been taught. They will start to ask you. So that productivity of learning starts to build in through its everyday, through their mindset, and they're just constantly learning even when you haven't planned on it. And that builds me into curiosity and encouraging kind of problem solving and just encouraging questions, never saying don't ask questions, never saying I don't know and just kind of ending it. I constantly say to them, I don't know, but let me find out. And I'll go on the internet if I have to. I'll try and find a YouTube video. Like, my kids don't have screen time at all. We don't have a TV. But if they ask me a question like, I think I asked like, why is the sky blue? Why is the water blue? And I couldn't give him like a really good answer. So I said, let's try and find something about that. We went onto YouTube, we found a documentary, 5, 6, 7 minutes, watched it together, closed the laptop, discussed it, and that was the learning experience. So allowing for questions, showing them that actually we don't know. This is how we could do some research. This is how we can find out the answer. And then now we've learned it together. You've learned it, I've learned it. And over time, that starts to work for itself. And the last one is to teach time management early on. This really helps you as a parent if your kids have awareness of time. If they know that it's the morning now, this is what we typically do in the morning, and this is how long things are going to take. You've got 10 minutes to do this. This is what 10 minutes looks like. Teaching them how to manage their time is really important. One thing that I'm really big on is not being late, being punctual, preparing as early as possible. So if we're going somewhere, we can pack the bag the night before, we can pack the snacks the night before, things like that, and showing them, like allowing them to be present in those moments. All of this will feed into long-term productivity. Over time, you can ask them, hey, can you pack the bag? Or then they'll turn around and say, Mom, have you packed the bag for tomorrow? It becomes like a process when you allow them to be part of that process. So just allowing them to understand the importance of managing time, how you manage time, what time actually is, and understanding sort of the lengths of time. All of this builds into each other. And like I said, it's not easy, and I've been doing it for almost 5 years now, and it's still consistent. Things are always changing in how I parent, but I have to always make sure that what I'm doing is a reflection of what I want them to also do. Always thinking, if they're seeing me right now, is that okay? Like, they're seeing what I'm doing right now. They're seeing how I'm reacting to things that I'm not happy about. They're seeing how I conduct myself, how I speak to people outside, my body language. All of these are things that they're going to look at in me as a parent, and how is that going to work for me in the future? Am I going to have to undo something that I'm doing right now? And this is sort of how I'm allowing myself to constantly be productive, kind of teaching them and enabling them to be part of my productive routine, and also just telling them why I'm doing certain things, and it just becomes a breeze. At this point now, I'm really grateful because I've been super consistent with them, and I find parenthood now really easy. We're just in that routine. They're in the routine. They know what they need to do. They know what I expect of them. And, you know, I've got a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old, and they're difficult, quote unquote, difficult ages, but because they're in such a strict routine, I treat them like my friends. I hope this video was helpful, and I hope it gave you like actionable tips on how to raise productive kids and how to kind of be a productive parent and allow yourself space to do what you need to do. And it all comes down to that kind of consistency, routines, habits, and building that structure in your day-to-day. If you'd like more content like this, then please let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.